you doing, Commissioner Edwards?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
I'm doing good, good. Commissioner Henderson, are you with us tonight? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Good deal, good deal. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. It's a beautiful afternoon.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kerr, are you with us tonight?
Yes, sir, I am. Doing just fine. Thank you.
Good, good, good. Commissioner Cowan is going to join. He's going to be running just a little late, but he will be with us tonight. All is ready. I'm going to go ahead and get going. We're going to go ahead and officially call this meeting to order tonight. Today is June the 2nd, 2020. Our thought for today: the price of greatness is responsibility. That's by Winston Churchill. I'm an invocation tonight. I'm gonna ask Commissioner Edwards if he would lead us in prayer tonight.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd all bow our heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for another opportunity to gather together and do the business of our county and our community. But tonight we pray a special prayer for our community and our state and our nation. We ask that you ensure that Satan loosen his grip on our hearts and our minds, and that the name of Jesus Christ prevail. We ask these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Amen. Guys, we're gonna make sure that we do our pledge tonight. Commissioner Mason, if you would tonight, would you lead us in our pledge, please, sir?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guys, you had an opportunity to look at the agenda tonight. I seek a motion of approval, please.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda adoption for tonight. And this is Commissioner Mason, District 2.
District 3, I second.
Thank you. It has been motioned by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Schultz. All in favor?
Commissioner District 1 is an aye.
Commissioner District 2 is an aye.
District 3 is an aye.
District 4 and I.
I think Commissioner Cowan said District 5 is an aye as well. He has his phone muted. That's better. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us as well. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, guys. This is an opportunity for citizens' comments. This is an opportunity that we allow citizens to make comments on agenda topics only. Agenda topics only. You have 3 minutes to do so. I am the timekeeper. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. And if you're on this call and you want to make comments, press *6 and you'll be able to make comments. But remember, this time here is for agenda topics only. There will be an opportunity allowed for citizens to make comments of any type at the end of the meeting. So if you want to make comments, agenda topics only, you may do so now. Thank you. Next is the chairman's report. Today I had an opportunity to go to the Capitol where our own Layla Zahn was being sworn in as judge today. It was an awesome event, and we want to take an opportunity to congratulate her, her and her family. Her family was there with her also, as she was sworn in by the governor. Several more people from Newton County was in attendance as well. Again, we just want to congratulate her, and we know she'll do a great job for the citizens of Newton County. I want to give an update, guys. There will be on tomorrow, there will be a protest on the square. I think the time is from 9 to 3. So we are praying that everything is done and decent and in order. And I have no reason to doubt that it wouldn't be. They've been doing protesting, look like now all over the state. And so they will be here in Newton County tomorrow. I think that's about it. That's all I have. Well, it's 10 to 3. That's all I have for the chairman's report. If you don't have any questions, I'll move on to the county manager's report. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. One of the programs and one of the things that we have been working with a local organization called the C4 Bike Club, and that is the posting of bike signs along the bike route that runs through the county. Newton County is on a number of national bike trail maps, and we're proud to be considered a part of that. We're also on the Bicycle Race Across Georgia maps, and so we are going to be posting about 50 bike signs along that route throughout the county, and are glad to be partnering on this project, and it should bring a lot of bike folks to our county. Also, the design for a roundabout at Jack Neely and Kirkland Road is about 40% complete now. And I wanted to make mention that the senior services, our senior services department during this past month delivered over 1,215 meals to seniors in our community who were sheltering in place and we're at home. So we congratulate the staff there, and part of the work of the staff over there is also to check in on the people that they serve the meals to make sure that they're getting all their needs met, and to do wellness checks on them. So we're real proud of all of our all of the people who work with our seniors. And I would also, Brian, if you could pull up those two graphs for me that I gave you earlier. Brian's going to share a screen for you. Got some information off the sales and tax distributions by jurisdiction site that is on the Carl Vinson Institute of Government site. And I wanted to show you all a comparison between the lost and SPLOST collections over the last 12 months. And at the bottom, these are the first chart you'll see is the lost collections, April 19 versus all the way over to April 20. And you can see the dollar collections there. April of 20 is actually the third largest month that we have had during this fiscal year, falling behind July. And Christmas. July is always a large collection month for us because of back to school sales and people purchasing goods and things for kids going back to school. And then of course, December is when we see a very high collection rate because of all of the Christmas gifts. So those are the LOST collections, and skip on, if you'll move on down to the next bottom part of that slide for me, if you would, Brian. You'll see the SPLOST collections, same story. This fiscal year, April is the third largest collection month for our fiscal year, this fiscal year 20. And you'll see the notation on the bottom that the collections, even though they were down, we were only down 2.9% from April of 2019. And I wanted to bring this to your attention because different parts of the state are having different, the impact from the COVID-19 differs depending on what part of the state you're in and what part of, what type of business you derive your sales tax collection from. In our particular case, we don't have a lot of the amenities that some of the other areas of the state do. For instance, if you look at Cobb County's numbers, and all of these numbers are available on this website, that is from Carl Vinson Institute of Government. You'll see some areas of the state that are heavily, have heavy industry towards tourism and entertainment, service type industries. For instance, Cobb County has about a 30% reduction in their collections. But if you look at all of the type of things, Cobb County has the Braves baseball stadium. There's quite a number of hotels along 285, 75. They have some very large shopping areas such as the Galleria area, other malls that are in Cobb County. Tremendous number of restaurants and so forth. So it would make sense that a lot of those industries were the ones that were hardest hit. Same thing goes for areas, City of Atlanta, Fulton County. And when you do the analysis on that, you'll see that those areas that did have quite a bit of entertainment-based retail, if you will, were the ones, some of the ones that were hardest hit. So I did want to just point that out because while we did have a little bit of a lag over last year, we still, we are not, the impact has not been quite as great in our local community as it has been in other areas. And it appears that our collections for May will be increasing and on track with and moving ahead of what we had collected during this same period next year. So I just wanted to share that with you. Also, Judy Johnson with our Development Services Department has been doing quite a bit of work with getting personnel trained for with our stormwater program. And our stormwater program encompasses quite a few things. And she has got a series of slides that she would like to show you. And I'd like to share with you on some of the projects that we've undertaken, including some dam restoration and so forth. So Judy, maybe if you could share those slides, and I'll let you and Chris narrate those slides, if you would, please.
Thank you. See if I can get this going. And again, I'm going to actually turn this part over to Chris Stanley, who is our landscape architect and our stormwater manager. He did go back in February and receive his certification to be a certified stormwater manager. And I'd like for him to go over a few of the projects that we've been able to get some success on.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to share a few of these successes with everyone tonight and share the process we are utilizing to gain the compliance with our state and local regulations in regards to stormwater. As part of our strategic plan, the stormwater program encompasses many facets of that plan, from the culture of trust to strengthening our infrastructure. First slide here that we're looking at just gives us the basic steps that we utilize to meet with people in the community, property owners or HOAs. And we do a site inspection. Second step, we do a written assessment that we can send out in the letter format to the owner of the pond, whether it be HOA or a private individual, for commercial, anything from Home Depot to Walmart or just a strip center. Once that document goes out, we encourage the owners to do a timeline for repairs. Then once those repairs are complete, the owner, they engage someone, and then we go back out and review what they have done to bring these ponds into compliance, all with the goal of maintaining our water quality for Newton County. And then these are put on recurring review schedules, anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Detention ponds and water quality structures that we have in Newton County, obviously more are going to be over towards the west side, the MS4 area for our stormwater permit. But we have lake detention ponds that were done early on when you could detain water in a live stream. And there's just a few of the live lake dams that are in Newton County: the Lockwald, Orchard Park, Ramway. The Board of Education has a wet pond. We have micro pools, wet detention ponds. So Westminster over off of Salem Road and the Walmart all have wet ponds, and Oak Manor. These hold water year round, anywhere from 2 to 4 feet deep. The next kind of water treatment we have would be underground detention, bioretention cells, enhanced swells, and infiltration trenches. So the Gum Creek Fire Station that we're working on now with the county has done bioretention cells. Underwood Crossing, a new subdivision development or a future phase, is in for LDP right now currently, and they're utilizing enhanced swells. And what this does is infiltrates the water into the ground and is able to clean it better. There's another note on here that I'd like to bring attention to, is green infrastructure, and that is a new buzzword at the state and federal level. And these bioretention cells and enhanced swells and recreated wetlands are all new green infrastructure that we'll be seeing in Newton County over the next few years. The first case studies, Orchard Park, off of Georgia 142 North. Real quick history: it was platted, the first phase, back in 2003. It started much earlier than that. The lake was designed as the detention pond water quality prior to the Army Corps discontinuing that practice. Redevelopment of phase 2 lots began after the recession. In 2019, phase 3 of Orchard Park was submitted to Development Services, and it was brought to the attention that the lake was not functioning. Development Services issued a letter to the HOA to initiate repairs and open the dialogue. And then the process of educating the HOA with the stormwater component of the development was brought about. What I have here is a few slides, and this is actually the pipe that comes out of the lake and it drops off into a ravine. This is the ravine. It was about 25 feet deep. And then this picture is the lake dam, and you see all the large trees on the lake dam. So this dam was in very bad shape, and we had the opportunity to go in and work with the HOA and the developer on this one. In May, the vegetation was removed by a contractor, and you can see on the second photo how big the ravine had gotten right behind the dam. So it was very critical repair. And then the final stabilization in May was done, and this all took place with the HOA and phase 3 developer working together, coordinating, and Development Services helping guide their reconstruction and the repairs. We were able to, because we were in the working with the HOA so much, we were privy to the information. So they did about $40,000 worth of work to the dam. They opened up an area that will be utilized for the HOA, And they have contracted with an inspector to come out annually to prevent such a large expenditure again. So the bold letters, bullet points here are what we think, with me working out in the field in the private sector, we think this is really the takeaway here. Without Development Services Stormwater Management Program, the outlet would have failed, the dam would have breached in the coming years, and the cost to repair the breach could have been anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000. Additionally, being a very unique lakefront community, a dam failure could have significantly affected the property values and the development. And most HOAs can't withstand a $200,000 emergency. Next project was Arbor Lakes Apartments, built in 2000, 2001, and they opened for business around 2002. When the redevelopment plans were submitted to Development Services, Stormwater Manager reviewed the site and issued a letter to the owners that were unaware that they had problems with their dam. These are just a few pictures of the condition to begin with of the dam. And this is through the renovations and the repairs of the erosion coming off the backside of the dam. And then here's the finished product. The whole process took about 8 months. And for this project in particular, the owners were out of state, so they relied heavily on our office to know what the regulations were. The cost was about $59,000. One of the results, the owners engaged a contractor to inspect again annually because they don't want to spend this much money to repair these. Our opinion is a unique lakefront apartment community dam failure could have significantly affected the owner's overall redevelopment goals for this apartment complex. And once they're complete, the valuation of the property would not be as high if the lake failed. The last development that we've worked on is off of Highway 162 on the south end of the county. It was a recession subdivision, and a final phase was never stabilized. We were able to go in, and this is very unique here. Yes, there's a county road under View 1, and then the other section is a road going into the development. In this development, we figured this out by our inspection, our MPDS program here in the office, and we have gone in and worked with the owner. You can go ahead and click through. View 1 again is the county road. So we've had some successes here in working with the private property owners in redirecting the stormwater to stop the erosion. This was very important because unless someone would have called and complained about this, this could have gone on for several more years before a complaint was filed and just kept on affecting our streams. Are there any questions?
Any question, guys? Mr. Edwards. Thank you, sir. Mr. Mason. Any questions, sir?
No, sir, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Schultz, any questions?
Not at this time.
Mr. Commissioner Henderson, any questions?
I have none at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Calvin. Any questions? I'm sorry. Thank you. Anything else?
No
Mr.
questions.
Kirk? Thank you.
No questions.
Thank you, sir.
No, sir, that concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris and Ms. Judy, for your help as well tonight. Next is old business. Mr. Curtis, do we have any old business? I thought we had one thing that we need to get done. Is that not true? Greg?
Yes, sir. We did have the adoption of the Infectious Disease Preparedness and Response Plan. This is our policies to be added to the Newton County Employee Handbook. And I see Ms. Martin is on the line too. And there were some revisions that were made, and I'll let Ms. Martin address some of the revisions.
I don't have that on my agenda. I want to make sure the commissioners have it on theirs.
It was
Yes,
sent
sir.
out already.
Mr. Chair, was added by Ms. Jackie Smith. She sent out an update.
Go ahead, Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Chairman Baines. As Lloyd had indicated, we did have a part of this policy adopted at our last meeting as a stopgap measure, but the board did want to see a clear plan of action regarding how the county would react in the off chance that someone is exposed to this illness. So commissioners, if you have the email in front of you with the document I sent to you, the updated document, if you will look down at page 2, underneath the word at-risk employees, you can draw yourself a line right there. The new additions end at risk employees. The language following that is the same language that you adopted at our last meeting. So take a look at this plan. This is a plan not only for COVID-19, it's an infectious disease preparedness and response plan. This has become the industry standard, if you can call it that, during this COVID crisis. And it's important that the county have something in place so that when it comes time to address these issues, there is something that we can enforce across the board. So the first part of the disease preparedness and response plan, let's look at the symptoms that are noted there. The county may ask all employees if they're experiencing influenza-related symptoms. Those are fairly well put out there: fever, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, cough, sore throat, runny or stuffy nose, muscle aches, or other symptoms described by a public health organization as indicative or of other contagions, and this would be such as the coronavirus. So the county may require employees before they enter the workplace to complete a simple questionnaire asking if they have been exposed to anyone with COVID-19 or if they're having symptoms. We will treat this information just like we do our other personal healthcare information and personal identifying information. They will be kept under lock and key, separate from any personnel file, and the only release would be to those that needed to know. For example, if a department head needed to notify someone of an exposure. We do go on, we discuss temperature checks. I believe you all are probably now accustomed to that happening in many businesses and local governments. Other screening options that are included, requiring employees to be tested for contagions such as coronavirus, requiring antibody testing of employees, and requiring employees to self-certify that they have not been diagnosed with having a contagion. You'll notice that these are aspirational in the other screening options. We will likely go with those temperature checks unless there is an exposure within the department. The county is going to hold annual training going forth regarding exposure risk, symptoms, and prevention of emergent infectious diseases. The training will place special emphasis on reviewing the basic infection prevention and control, how to use PPE effectively, isolation, and other infection prevention strategies such as hand washing. Again, social distancing is something that we're all learning today, but we've incorporated this into this revised policy. The county will highly recommend the continuing of social distancing in the workplace as work duties permit. The county will make efforts to assist with implementing social distancing measures. Some of those that you may have already seen are marking the floors, stand on an X before you advance further, keeping you 6 feet in front or behind of the person closest to you. You all are probably aware that our governor did issue an executive order. In that executive order, it does change the number of people for a gathering. A gathering is now defined as 25 or more. This does signal more of an opening up in the state. Going on to page 2 of the 4-page document, we indicate that we are going to maintain a supply of PPE. This does not mean that everyone is going to get fire type of protection, but we will have face masks. Shift changes, if necessary, the county may consider staggering work shifts and break times to reduce the opportunities for exposures. That is something that we're seeing in several of our local governments surrounding the county. As far as meetings, the county may limit the size of the meeting and encourage virtual meetings when possible. Now, be aware that we do have zoning matters. We have to make sure that everyone has notice, and we're doing that right here on Zoom and have been successful thus far. Travel, we have put in place all non-essential travel must be pre-approved by the Human Resources Director. Employee communications, of course, we will communicate with employees regarding notifications addressing the timeline for when they will return to the workplace, measures being taken to safeguard the workplace, and employee health and wellness initiatives. The county will also regularly update employees of the county's response plans. Employees are directed to contact HR with any questions. Lastly, I did put in an at-risk employees section for employees age 65 or above. And these are folks that are considered medically vulnerable in addition to those who are under 65 and have some sort of disease or other thing that makes them more susceptible to disease. If you are an at-risk employee, please contact HR pursuant to this policy so we can make sure that we work with you in accommodating those medically vulnerable groups. And that completes the revisions we've made to the policy. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Edwards, have anything, sir?
I do not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason, you have anything, sir?
I do not. I think this is very thorough. I like it, and I'm pleased. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Schultz, you have anything, ma'am?
I read this policy probably 3 times to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's very thorough. I really appreciate the work that was done to make sure that there's clear direction for employees and for department heads and to be able to implement this policy. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Henderson, you have anything, sir?
I have no questions.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Cowan, you have anything, sir?
No, sir, I have no questions.
Thank you. I think we need a motion to approve this. Is that correct, Megan? We need a motion to add this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a motion would be a motion to approve the Infectious Disease Preparedness and Response Plan presented upon June 2nd, 2020, superseding any previous such policy voted upon by the Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman.
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Schultz. Any discussion? All in favor?
So now, I from District 1.
I from District 2.
I from District 3.
I from District 4.
I from District 5.
Thank you, guys. It passes 5-0. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Guys, you had an opportunity to look at the consent agenda. I seek a motion of approval, please.
Cajun baked chicken with onions on it.
Yeah, I was no, my stuff was better.
Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Anderson.
I hear you. What?
We can hear you good. Hey, there's a lot of background noise back there.
Well, I put mine on pause whenever I speak. Then I put it on pause.
Okay.
I mean, mute. I mute it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, listen, I seek a motion of approval for the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question first?
Sure can.
Can you get the county attorney to explain the intergovernmental agreement between Eaton County and the Recreation Commission, since we've pending review by the state legislature of abolishing the commission? What's all that about?
Chairman Baines, if I may respond, is that okay? Can you hear me, Commissioner Cowan? Anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Chairman Baines, may I speak?
Yes, you can. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. We are waiting for our local delegation to get back to work on the several pieces of local legislation that are up under the Capitol right now. I'll recap some other ones as well. You all know that we are seeking to create a public facilities authority, so that local legislation is pending. We have an update to constitutional officer pay based upon statutory guidance that was amended. Likewise, we do have legislation or request for legislation pending abolishing the Recreation Commission. The reason why this agreement is on for ratification tonight is that the board previously approved this. However, it was not executed. And due to the passage of time, we thought it to be the most transparent purpose to put it back on so that we could get this executed and spread upon the minutes at the same time.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'm familiar with that problem now. Okay, I got you.
Thank
you, Commissioner Cowan.
Thank you. I seek a motion of approval, please.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve because it's just to clean up a problem where something was not ratified.
It's the whole consent agenda.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Schultz. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
It's an aye from District 1.
Thank you, sir.
Aye from District 2.
Thank you, sir.
I District 3.
Thank you, ma'am.
I District 4.
Thank you, sir.
Aye, District 5.
Thank you, sir. It passes 5-0. Next is a public hearing, development of services, discussion, consideration of a resolution to transmit the physical 19 CIE to STWP, stormwater. Miss Judy, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
If I may, I'd like to share the quick PowerPoint here. Well, this is in 2005, Newton County began collecting impact fees. And as part of our impact fees, we're required to submit an annual capital improvement element short-term work program. It's called the CIE STWP. Report is required of all local governments that collect impact fees. This is a request tonight to transmit this report to the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission for review and approval. If you'll look here, and this report was sent out in your packets by Ms. Jackie. This is the last page of our report, but I wanted to start with this. This is on our fiscal year when it ended on June 30th, 2019. This was our fund balances. At that time, the library where we had built the Oak Hill Community Library, we are still in the process of steadily collecting the fees. However, we still have a negative balance on that. Our Parks and Recreation is now has a positive balance, and there is a program that we will share in just a moment that these fees will be used for in this fiscal year. And our road department also has some funding there, and they have some projects coming up that they would like to use the impact fees for as well. Again, this is our library. It shows that we do have a project, an upcoming project, and it would be approximately $50,000 that once we get a positive balance, we would like to add to the collection, another library collection for either library to use, either the Oak Hill or the one here that's on Floyd Street. The next is Park and Recreation, and they have a multiple programs that they would like to use, and this is impact fees only. These are not our other SPLOST dollars and so forth, but there are programs here that they have designated for each of the districts, as well as a multi-use sports complex And this year, we are working on extending the Cricket Frog Trail, and that is underway, and that is 100% eligible for impact fees. The next is our roads department, and our roads department, of course, we know that we have a lot of large projects that are going on, and 3 of the projects that have been identified that could be paid for 75% with impact fees would be the Brown Bridge Road and Kroll Road from State Route 162 to widen from a 2-lane to a 4-lane, and the Kroll Road from Brown Bridge Road to I-20 to widen from a 2-lane to a 4-lane, and the Covington bypass from State Route 36 to Highway 81 widen from a 2-lane to a 4-lane. But as you can see, those projects are obviously quite costly, so it will take us a while to get to those fees, to get to those funds, but they are eligible for impact fees, and this is what those fees could be paid for. And this is the report that we do. Now, this report encompasses both your impact fees projects and your short-term work programs. So there are things on here that can be paid for from SPLOST dollars, from different types of programs that we are in. But to begin with, again, it's our libraries collections, our district parks. One of them I wanted to point out again was the Cricket Frog, and that is the paving of 10 miles from the city limits of Covington at the Covington bypass to the city of New Bern. And this trail follows along the former route of the Central Georgia Railroad and will be approximately 14.9 miles total. The next one on our impact fee report, we also highlight any project that is completed. So when Northeast Georgia is reviewing it, they recognize that we have met a goal. And on this one, we have been able to complete the project at the Covington bypass and Flat Shoals Road for an intersection safety upgrade. And that was completed in fiscal year 2019. There's a handful of zoning things down here that we are moving forward with. These have been started, and we do project those to be completed in this fiscal year. One of those is to prepare and adopt the Scenic Corridor District along Highway 11 to offer a little more protection for that nice pristine corridor that we have out there. Again, some more zoning things that are underway and started. Another one of our projects that got completed in this past year was the completion of our stormwater management program, and that was one of the things that Lloyd also had us touch on earlier in his management report. Last year, we also was able to see the completion of the renovation and expansion of the Judicial Center, and a couple of projects that are upcoming, and we have several, but as County Manager Kerr mentioned earlier, the animal control facility and the senior services facility, they are underway, as well as the improvements of the intersections at Kirkland and Jack Neely. And our request tonight is for the board to grant us permission and approve the resolution so we can send it up to Northeast Georgia, which will take a 60-day review. And should there be no comments, it will come back, and then it will come back in front of this board with a request to adopt it.
Hey, quickly, Ms. Judy, it says public hearing. Do you just need the approval, or you need a public hearing?
No, sir. We do need to do an approval. We do need to hold a public hearing. It's not for or against, but this would allow anyone in the public, if they had any questions, they could ask them at this time. I have not received any comments, and this was lawfully advertised as required.
Thank you, ma'am. Guys, it is approximately 7:44. We're going to open it up now for our public hearing. Anyone that wants to make a comment or ask a question about this, you may do so now. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. If you're on the call, please press *6 and your phone will be unmuted. You may do so now. Anyone want to make a comment? I have a question. Thank you. That portion of our public hearing is closed. Our public hearing is closed. So Commissioners, I seek a motion of approval, please.
Mr. Chairman, District 1 would like to move for approval of resolution to transmit the FY19 CIE/STWP as stated by the Planning Zone Director.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner Schultz, go ahead.
So I'm looking at some of the road projects that are under where they're listed as GDOT and impact fees. Now, we have to submit this STP and SWTP and CIE plan yearly. So if, let's say, we have a, the voters approve a T-SPLOST in November, can we change the funding sources, or do we have to resubmit if we change the funding sources?
No, ma'am. This would be our goals at this time would be, this is how we see being able to facilitate these. These projects are updated yearly. So should a T-SPLOST be approved in 2021, then when we do our annual report, we would review it next spring and we would update the project funding at that time. We have had projects move from one funding source to a different funding source, but the main thing is if it is impact fee money, that is the primary goal of this report, is it requires local governments to show that if they are collecting impact fees, they have projects on a short-term program of 5 years and we are spending those fees on those projects.
So as long as we're...
Hey guys, if you're on a call, please mute your phone, please. Please, this is a live meeting. Please mute your phone if you're not talking. Thank you.
So as long as we have designated that there is a potential to use impact fees for those funding sources, that's acceptable. If we were to change mid-year even, that would be acceptable. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. If we add a project that we could spend impact fees for, then we would just update the list next year to go up to the Northeast Georgia. They're kind of a planning guide, but we are not tied to this particular document that it cannot be altered or changed. We would just have to reflect that in next year's report to them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Commissioner Henderson, go ahead, sir.
And I guess my question is to Lloyd. I had thought that we were putting money into the impact fee fund, and so but I heard Ms. Judy when she was speaking. She said we had a negative balance. Man, I'm trying to figure out: if we are collecting impact fee funds, how much are we collecting? And it was my understanding that we had impact fee funds in a separate account.
We are collecting the fees, and we have paid back quite a bit of money. All of the accounts were negative. The only account that is negative at this point is the library account, and but we are depositing money in all of the accounts. So we are still collecting the impact fees, and we are making all of the accounts whole again. But the roads and the parks and the administrative accounts all became positive before the library account did. So the library account will soon be positive as well, but the other ones were positive before that.
Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
May I make one further comment that may also help Commissioner Henderson? When we built the Oak Hill Library, we spent $575,000 plus dollars from the general fund to cover this. And as the impact fees are collected, they go back to repaying the general fund for it. So right now it still shows a negative impact fee fund balance, but that is because the project costs so much and the county decided to move forward and pay for it out of its own funding, but we do have the right to put the funding back. So we are still collecting, they're still allocated to each of the buckets as they are supposed to be, but because the cost of Oak Hill Library was more than the fees we had collected at that time, there was the need to take care of it from other funding sources, which are now being repaid.
Yes, ma'am, and you are correct. But as I remember, if my memory serves me right, and I believe Commissioner Schultz, she was there at the fire station, where somehow or another the funds were may have not been placed in a separate account, and so they were maybe generalized, and so they were being replaced or replenished. The only thing that I was asking, and that I'm asking is that, you know, it was my understanding that all those monies had been somehow or another been replaced, and so if somebody would be so kind as to go back, I don't know how long, but 6 years, 7 years, and give me an accounting of the splash fund, and so that they'll give me a general idea is for how much may belongs in those accounts, in that account.
Yeah, Commissioner Floyd, I can ask Brittany if she will give you a recap of that to show you how much was utilized for the project and then how it's been paid back over the course of time. And we'll be glad to get that information for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Chairman
guys.
Lloyd, do you mind if I add one comment to that as well?
Go right ahead if the chairman's okay.
Yes, go ahead, Brittany.
Okay, the impact fees finished paying off the general fund about a year ago. So we do not owe, the general fund does not owe the impact fee fund back anymore. And we do hold the impact fees in their own separate bank account. So for clarification for Commissioner Henderson, they are held in their own bank account.
If I could just add one other thing, I was not aware that the general fund was being paid back for projects that was supposed to be did by impact fee monies. It was my understanding, and it's been a while. I know in 2016, and I remember this one. You know, that was one of the things that the former chair was concerned about. He was concerned about the fact that he felt like missing impact fee money was missing, something that we were supposed to discuss that we never did discuss, and we get off on a tangent on something else. But I don't believe that I can think of that I ever was aware that the impact fee money was being paid by general fund, and then general fund had to go and give it back. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Mr. Warner's an aye.
Thank you, sir.
Aye for District 2.
Thank you, sir.
I District 3.
Thank you, ma'am.
I did before.
Thank you, sir.
Aye for District 5.
Thank you, sir. It passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is item number 10. Finance request for budget transfer. Brittany, are you still with us?
Yes, sir, Chairman, I'm still here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a moment to share my screen so everybody can see the budget transfers that I am requesting. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the first budget transfer request we have on the agenda tonight is a command vehicle for the fire department. And this was a request that they had actually initially put in the FY21 budget, but we decided to see if we could fund this through savings in their budget this fiscal year, and they have only utilized 63% of their health insurance budget for this fiscal year due to vacancies. And some firefighters, we always budget for full family insurance coverage, and some firefighters came on and they were not full family, so we realized savings in those places. So we are asking to move $65,000 out of their health insurance and into a transfer out to capital improvements. And the reason we are asking to transfer this into capital improvements is because it will take some time to get this vehicle, and we will not be able to have possession of this vehicle by the end of this fiscal year. So if we move it to our capital improvement fund, we will be able to utilize those funds at a later date. And I will move on to the second budget transfer request. This has a few items that we would like to request out of our contingency for this year. The first one is legal services that we had to pay to the lawyer fees for the plaintiffs and the battalion chief legal settlement, and that was $9,000. The second one is a request for $71,000, or excuse me, there's current budget is $71,660. We need to increase that by $48,000 to purchase our Laserfish software upgrade. Greg already has the $71,660 budgeted in his budget this year, and Walton County has also agreed to contribute $17,000 in this fiscal year for their employees of the Laserfish software. But we do need an additional $48,000 to cover the additional upgrade of the Laserfish. And then last on this transfer is $109,778 that we would like to transfer over to the jail budget for the additional handrails that they had to install to keep the prisoners from climbing up the rails.
Thank you.
Then, I got a few more, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, the third one is another transfer out to capital improvements of $134,000. This is the remainder of the funds that we had budgeted to do the lease program that we decided not to do. So we would like to ask to transfer that out of the general fund and into the capital improvement fund to purchase vehicles for the sheriff's department. And this is kind of the same situation. We will not be able to get these vehicles by the end of the year. So if we move them to capital improvement, they will be there to utilize it when we can actually get possession of those vehicles. The next one is contingency for new positions. This is a long one, but I will kind of go down here to this summary sheet right here. This is all the positions that have been hired out of the contingency fund for FY20. The ones in green have been hired. The ones in white are still open. So far this year, that contributes to $498,663 that we need to move out of our contingency for new positions and into each department's budget. And I have one more. This one is just a move from other capital equipment, GIS, over to small equipment. When GIS originally received a quote for this GPS unit, it was over $5,000, but now that the cost has been allocated, it actually, each portion of it is under the $5,000, so we would not need to capitalize it. So we're just needing to move that from other equipment, which is a capital item, into a small equipment. And that is all I have. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Brittany. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner Edwards, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brittany, can you put those slides back up, please?
Yes, sir. Hold on one second. Okay.
All right, and on the first slide, you mentioned about let's go back to the fire services and the command vehicle they're looking to buy. So this vehicle was not budgeted in FY20, correct?
It was not originally budgeted in FY20. They did ask for the command vehicle in the FY21 budget, but it is not currently in our proposed FY21 budget.
Okay, so and it's being pulled from contingency.
No, this one is actually being pulled from their health insurance savings.
Okay, but let me ask you the question about the health insurance. So this is from health insurance for individual firemen or fire employees that had no need of the family plan, correct?
It can be a mixture of different things. The fire department does have some vacant positions, so they have savings from vacancies where there's no one currently filling the position. You also have people who might leave that might be budgeted at full family, and then someone comes in and takes their place and only is requiring single health insurance. So you have savings in those places as well.
Okay, and then go over to the second to last, if you don't mind.
This one?
The one with all the vacant positions. I believe we were, no, they had the green. So explain this one to me again. So the positions in white are positions that we're not going to fill this year.
To my knowledge, when I did this last week, this is the most up-to-date based on HR. I have heard that they're possibly going to hire some sheriff positions, but I do not know if those are out of these contingency positions or vacant positions in their current budget.
So they're across the sheriff's department, the tax, it looks like the tax commissioner's department, fire, and maybe one or two others in there. So the savings from these positions for FY20 is being used for what again?
Are you talking about the balance that we still have at the 1-2?
Well, we were going to realize those.
This page.
We were going to realize those savings because the positions weren't filled, right?
Yes, they either weren't filled or they were not filled when they were budgeted. So some of the positions in the fire department were just hired in May. Mm-hmm. So there was a pretty good bit of savings there with those just being hired in May. And then you do have the handful that haven't been hired yet. Okay,
so what are we doing with that money again? I'm sorry, I hate to be redundant, but.
Well, right now we're only requesting, because the current budget in the contingency for new positions this year is 1.7. We're asking to move 498,363 into all the department budgets. So that still leaves a balance of 1.2 in that line item. So as of now, if we did not utilize that, it would roll in to fund balance at the end of the year.
Okay, so those will roll into those respective departments for FY21, correct?
We do have the positions that are still open budgeted in the FY21 budget.
Okay, and this money, the savings from that screen right there, are going to move into those department heads' budgets for fiscal 21.
They will not be in their budget. We will hold them in the contingency line like we have in the past.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? If no one else, I seek a motion that we approve this budget transfer. Come on, guys, somebody talk to me.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve these budget transfers. This is a typical thing that we had to do at the city of Covington also, so I'm used to it. Just make a recommendation or a motion to approve the contingency position transfers of budget transfers.
Can I get a second, please?
Second from District 2.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Mason.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Mason. Any more discussion?
Another question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lloyd, I just want to make sure that I'm satisfied with what Brittany told me on that last part of that discussion, but I'll make sure on some of those previous screens, we're not saying here at the end of the year, we got some money left over, let's just go spend it.
No, that's correct. We're not doing that. What we're doing, for instance, with the fire department's command vehicle, this is a vehicle that we know we're going to need in the next fiscal year with the oncoming stations and so forth. But we also know that we can't afford to buy it in FY21. So we did have the funding available this year to purchase, but it's not that we just have this money and we're going to spend it. It's because we do need these, the things that we're purchasing. So yeah, it's absolutely correct. There's a lot of things that we would like to have, but we're not purchasing those. We're only purchasing the things that we know we need.
Okay. Thank you, Lloyd. I didn't think we were, but I just wanted to ask a question. Thank you.
Sure thing. I understand. No trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Schultz.
So Brittany, in summary of all the slides that you presented, how much money will we actually be taking away from the FY21 requests?
I'm going to answer this, and if this is not the question you're asking, I will be happy to try to answer. But the only things in this budget transfer that were requested in the FY21 budget was the $65,000 for the command vehicle.
And that was not in the recommended budget that you and Lloyd provided for us?
Correct. We did pull that out.
That was just what was requested, but it was not in the recommended, it was not in the proposed budget.
Yes, ma'am.
So none of these other transfers are items that we can deduct from the FY 2021 budget.
The Sheriff's Department did request around, I believe it was $1.3 million in vehicles, and we couldn't obviously fulfill that request, but we did allow for roughly $370,000 in the FY21 budget, and then we're proposing on this transfer to give them another 134.
So his original budget for vehicles, we're at close to 500,000.
His original request in the FY21 budget?
Yes.
It was 1.3.
But I mean, what we will be giving him between this request and what is in the proposed budget will be close to half of what he requested.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Anyone else? Any more discussion? Commissioner Henderson. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there are vehicles for the Office of Sheriff in this proposal.
Yes, sir.
So how many vehicles are we talking? I mean,
we would leave that up to him to decide what types of vehicles he wants to purchase with the 134, because if he purchases a Tahoe, it's a little more costly than a Charger, so we would leave that up to him, but the total dollar amount is $134,000.
So that may mean, if my math, and I got bad math, may mean the possible of 3 vehicles.
I would say probably 3 to 4, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye from District 1.
Thank you.
Aye from District 2.
Thank you, sir.
I from District 3.
Thank you, ma'am.
Aye from District 4.
Thank you, sir.
Aye from District 5.
Thank you, sir. Passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is item number 11, Public Works. Request that the BOC authorize the chairman to execute the contract for acquisition of right-of-way for bridge replacement project 0015096 Brown Bridge Road at Yellow River. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't believe Mr. Clegg is going to be with us tonight, so I'm going to handle this. He had some emergency dentistry he had to have done, unfortunately. But as you all are aware, 2 of the bridges on Brown Bridge Road need to be replaced. One is the bridge over Snapping Shoals Creek, which at our last meeting, you approved a contract for the right-of-way acquisition for that particular project. And this is the other bridge project, and this is the one at Yellow River. This will be a new bridge that will be widened. These projects are both GDOT projects, and they're federal aid projects. And so 100% of this will be reimbursable to the county. And but we do need to enter into a contract for the acquisition of the right-of-way so that the GDOT can move ahead with the acquisition of the right-of-way, and their expected cost for that is estimated at $360,000. So we ask that the board approve that so that we can move ahead with making this acquisition.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that it be approved as stated by the county manager.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Schultz. Any discussion? All in favor?
That's an aye from District 1.
Thank you, sir.
Aye from District 2.
Thank you, sir.
I District 3.
Thank you, ma'am.
Aye, District 4.
Thank you, sir.
Aye, District 5.
Thank you, sir. It passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next is consideration approval of renewal lease of office space to the Georgia State Properties Commission on behalf of Department of Driver Service. Ms. Megan.
Thank you, Chairman Bain. As you all know, for several years, the county has leased a portion of the Cousins Community Center to the State Properties Commission for the purposes of allowing the Department of Driver Services to maintain an office in Cousins. This is certainly something that the community has enjoyed in the past. It makes it easier to go get your license renewed, and that has been open for some time. If you all remember, the lease has been for a nominal sum in the past because the county and its residents get a significant benefit from having the DDS office in the county. As you all know, the county recently purchased the Cousins Center, and the State Property Commission has indicated they want to update the lease format. So we went ahead, and this is a good time to update our lease and put that together. Except for removing a few provisions that were previously needed to address the county's obligations as a tenant of the facility, the agreement is substantially the same. The agreement is for 9 years, and DDS will pay a nominal rent, but they are responsible for all utilities and janitorial except trash pickup. And that's all I have on that one. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Megan. Guys, any questions?
I have a question.
One second, Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Edwards, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Megan, so maybe I didn't hear it correctly. So this new agreement represents how much of a change from the previous? I mean, maybe I didn't listen close enough. So how does it relate to the old agreement in terms of janitorial services and repairs?
Our old agreement did have the janitor services and repairs. However, it does appear that we were doing some work out there and not recognizing that as a tenant, we were leasing out there, that was not our obligation. So the new lease that I've put together that we're looking at tonight zeroes in on that we're now the property owner. So that's going to put us in the landlord position and DDS being the tenant. So the only changes are the change from that landowner from the previous leaseor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner Mason, you have anything?
No, sir, Mr. Chair, I'm clear.
Commissioner Schultz, you have anything?
No, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This DDS is in District 4, and I'm familiar, which I think maybe most of everybody who are around in this vicinity are with the driver license facility that we have over at Old Cousin. And I think Lord and all of us went over a while back and we looked at some repairs. We looked at the mold in that particular office space where the citizens of Newton County comes and see our governor picture. And I don't think I see the lieutenant governor picture now, but the governor's picture, et cetera, in that building. And it needs some improvements in it if we are going to continue to have all our citizens come up there and get their driver's license renewed or whatever, get a ID or whatever. So all that I'm saying is that there has to be some improvements in that particular building. Yes, we are very appreciative of having that service there because I can remember the old one, the one off of down up above the old jail. And I can remember going there, get my license renewed, and how some people get so hot standing outside in long lines and they would fall out. And that was a welcome, cooler addition to the building where people could sit down comfortably. And so I think we're moving in the right direction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Cowan, anything?
No, sir, I have nothing on that.
Well, I seek a motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion to approve as stated by the county attorney.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. If there are no more discussion, all in favor?
District 1 is an aye.
Aye from District 2.
Aye, District 3.
Aye, District 4.
Aye, District 5.
Thank you. It passes 5-0. Next is item 13, SWMA, consideration approval of an application to the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, (GEFA), for a $3 million loan for waste cell construction at the county landfill. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, what I'd like to do is to turn this over to Curtis Reynolds. He is a consulting engineer with Harbor Engineering, and he will walk you through the tenets of the agreement as well as explain the need for this loan.
Thank you. Hey, Curtis, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, County Manager. What is before you is the loan application for this $3 million loan to construct the next area for solid waste disposal at the landfill. This loan is for $3 million for over 20 years with an interest rate of 1.44% from the Georgia Environmental Facilities Authority. for loan is to fund the construction of the next area of the landfill here. So this
hey,
next
Curtis.
area needs to be constructed so that, yes.
Hey, Kurt. Hey,
Yes.
you're breaking up really bad. I'm gonna have to ask you. I'm gonna have to ask you. You're breaking up really bad. I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat a lot of that because I don't think some of the commissioners can hear you. Make out what you said.
Sure. Let me try to call in, and we'll see if that's any better.
Well, it's better now.
Okay. I'll try to keep it short and brief. The reason for the loan is that the current landfill space and our currently constructed area will reach capacity in late 2021. So the loan application before you is for the Board of Commissioners to be the applicant. The Solid Waste Management Authority does not have the adequate debt service ratio to apply for GFA at this time due to their young age and current debt service required. So that's the reason this application is before you tonight.
Curtis, can you explain to the board who will be paying this loan back?
Yes,
please?
sir, I can. This loan will be paid back by the Solid Waste Authority through the fees that they collect from solid waste disposal in accordance with intergovernmental agreement that the authority currently has with the Board of Commissioners, and that will be modified at a later date after this loan application, pending its approval tonight, been submitted and approved by the GFA authority, comes back before the Board of Commissioners or after the August GFA board meeting.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, y'all have any questions? Commissioner Edwards, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll ask our members of the, through via you, Mr. Chairman, our members of the Solid Waste Authority, how do you feel about the financial health of the Solid Waste Management Authority in terms of the cash flows to be able to handle this debt in the coming years? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Let our senior member answer that if she wants to on the Solid Waste Authority.
You know, I think that Brittany can probably give us a real clear picture on that as well, because Brittany knows exactly the financial picture. Brittany, are you still on the call?
I think he wanna know, are we, not just you guys, but are we comfortable with this as well? I think that's
well. In our last Solid Waste Authority meeting, we discussed this, and we had a pretty we had a very detailed discussion about what we were going to have to repay in terms of our finances. Our finances are probably better than we anticipated them to be at this point in time. So the entire Solid Waste Authority did, as I recall, we approved this unanimously. Is that correct? So we did. And we have a pretty we have a Solid Waste Authority that asks a lot of detailed questions.
okay.
Chairman, if I may add to that.
Okay, go ahead, Curtis.
I did want to let you know, or let the other commissioners know as well, that this loan, as part of the continued operation of the landfill, was planned in the solid waste performa prepared in 2016, and that is currently updated annually to project 5-year cash flow projections. And both the performa and cash flow projections do indicate, based on those projections, that funds will be available based on the assumptions made in those reports.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Calvin, you have anything? If not, I'm gonna let Megan explain the IGA agreement.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. The question I had, it's a couple of questions. I'm sorry if I'm walking in my backyard. I'm excited while at the meeting too. So the question I asked, I thought we had.
Commissioner,
can you hear me?
Yes, sir. But 1 second, we still on stand question. 1 second, I calling you. I get you next.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Calvin, if you have anything you want to add to that
question? The only thing I'd like to add to it is that 3 years ago, the solid landfill was losing about $2 million a year. And we've overcome that in the last 3 years. We don't have a loss out there, and we are making a profit. Well, let's just say our revenues are exceeding our expenses. So we're doing so much better now than we were. And we can continue to do that to make sure that the landfill is safe for that community and is a viable part of the infrastructure of Newton County. So I think we're going to be in good shape with this.
Thank you. That's the question that, and I concur with them, Commissioner Edwards. That's the question that Commissioner Edwards had asked to the members that's on the board who serves on the Solid Waste Authority as well. I think I'm gonna let Megan at the end come and explain the IGA agreement that the county has with the Solid Waste Authority. So Commissioner Mason, and then I'm gonna go to Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't have any questions. As long as our Solid Waste Authority, they are comfortable and they are in agreement with this $3 million loan with 1.44% interest. If they are comfortable with it and they feel like they are in good standings financially, then I don't have any questions.
We are. Commissioner Henderson, go ahead, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you know, I'm sorry that I just kind of been a part of the board for a long time and just kind of been a part of when it was formed, how it was formed, and the money and stuff that was borrowed in order to help it to operate. And the idea was, and maybe Commissioner Schultz or somebody on the board can help me or correct me, is that it was supposed to stand on its own. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Okay,
it was supposed to stand on its own. And, you know, if I heard the argument about it was $2 million, it only went in $2 million of debt was when you combine the landfill and the convenience centers. Convenience centers have never made any money because they weren't erected to make money, just to provide a service. So if you would have took the convenience centers off of it and just the landfill, it would be the same as it's been for several years, $500,000 in debt. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was this: we just did a $10 million loan, I think, assigned for it, you know. And so how has that money been spent? And I thought it was supposed to shore up all of those problems that we had. So to me, and I'm not a mathematical genius, but I don't see, maybe because I'm not on the board, I don't see, or I need to see how that money's being spent in order to get $3 million more in order to spend. You know, I think that's just me doing what I'm supposed to do as a commissioner. You know, I think that's what my job is. At least that's what I was told years ago. So the only thing I'm saying is that you ask for $3 million more. You say you can pay it, but if you listen close, everybody a little hesitant. So let's ask somebody else how. And so, but essentially, at the end of the day, it's the taxpayers who's going to have to pay it, take money out of one pocket, put it in another pocket, and then maybe get some coming back to them. And so I don't think it's too much to ask. I thought the $10 million that we borrowed, covered most of that expense And there's another $3 million that you all are saying that can't be paid back, and that you're not really sure. And we need to. I mean, I think the citizens, taxpayers, need to know. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think Commissioner Schultz, you're next. Is Brittany still with us? Brittany, are you still with us?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Schultz.
The $10 million that was borrowed was to pay the settlement agreement for the landfill, and that's what that 10 million was for.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
also that 10 million went for the purchase of that 434 acres of land that had been set aside by East Georgia for expansion of that landfill, which our settlement basically ended the expansion of the landfill into the Spring Hill community. So we stopped that expansion of the landfill over on that area, and we bought the land, we settled the lawsuit. It covered a lot of things that we had a lot of problems that had been created out there.
Thank you. I was gonna let Brittany explain that, but y'all did such a great job. Thank you. Anyone else? Any more questions? Attorney Martin, if you would you explain the IGA that the county has with the Solid Waste Authority, please?
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple of things I want to clarify. What you're agreeing to tonight is submitting the application for the GFA loan. So this will come back before the board again. So understanding that component. Additionally, there's been some talk about the footprint of the landfill. I want to make sure everyone knows this is not expanding the landfill whatsoever. It's installing an aligner on the internal portion of the site. So that's what the project itself is. I don't want anyone to think that there's going to be growth at the landfill currently. So what the stated purpose is for the county to take out the loan instead of the Solid Waste Authority, and Curtis did a great job of explaining why. The SWMA, again, is only requesting that the BOC submit a loan application, and there'll be a further opportunity for y'all to review and commit to that at that time. But one of the critical components that we will have in place is that the Solid Waste Authority is going to enter into an IGA with the county, agreeing to make all those loan payments from Solid Waste Authority funds. So we will have a backstop there where the Solid Waste Authority has agreed to pay us those monies. So think of it as a pass-through in order to get better interest. That's the way, when Sam and I discussed it last week, that we felt it best represented. So not only will, if the application is approved, will it come back to you, you will also have the IGA come back to you at that time as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Thank you. I seek a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the application to the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority for a $3 million loan for waste cell construction at the county landfill.
Second. District 1, second.
Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any more discussion? All in favor?
That's an aye from District 1.
Aye from District 2.
Aye from District 3.
No from District 4.
Aye from District 5.
Thank you. It passes 4-1. Thank you much. Next, alcohol license, first reading. Food Land 15036 Brown Bridge Road, Covington, Georgia 316. Santasa Shelley, District 2. That's the first reading. Next is citizens' comments. Guys, this is an opportunity we let citizens make comments. You have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name, your address. I am the timekeeper here. You can talk about any topic you wish to. Guys, you have 3 minutes. Again, the way it works here is that citizens make comments, commissioners don't respond. They may respond in commissioner comments, but as you are making your comments, you just make your comments, and if they decide they're going to respond, they would do it in commissioner comments. Please state your name, your address. Again, you have 3 minutes to do so.
Tyler Still, 6132 Forest Drive, Southeast. First, I want to thank the board and the chairman for hearing me and letting me speak tonight. I'd also like to thank Rachel Ramsey for her significant contribution to the content of this speech. I'm here tonight to advocate for the removal of the Confederate monument from the Covington Square. When I take my almost daily drive through the square, I do not see the statue, but because it is so easy to tune out after all these years. A silent reminder that simply goes unnoticed to most of our citizens. To outsiders, however, the monument can be a jarring first impression of what our town honors and represents. Now, when I say removal, I do not mean destroy. After all, it is a century-old historical artifact. What I am advocating for is recontextualization, moving it out of the spotlight and placing it with other historical artifacts, or simply in a place where it can be viewed as such. We cannot erase history, but we can control how it is observed. By relocating the statue from the square, we remove any room for confusion about the intentions of the statue based on behalf of the city of Covington. Lastly, I would like the board to consider the current context of our society. There are uprisings springing up all over the country, and as you all know, there's a scheduled protest on the square tomorrow. This means we have a very narrow window of opportunity to get ahead of the curve. In a protest against police brutality and systemic oppression, that statue is going to be a big elephant in the room. By removing the statue tomorrow, or having one of our city or county leaders appear to announce the intent to remove, we will be making a statement that our city does what's right for our people when they are calling out to be heard, and that Black people are welcome here. With all the beautiful renovations to the square going on right now, this would fit right into the new image of Covington. We have nothing to lose by this action, but so much to gain in the faith of the Black people of our community, as well as a great PR move for our booming filming industry. Let us be an example to the rest of the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to make a comment? If you press *6, you can unmute your phone.
Archie Shepherd, 9169 Village Drive, Covington, Georgia. My question is, the recycling that we used to take over to the recycling bit, the aluminum, paper, and whatnot is being picked up now, and I guess it's being combined. But do this county handle this, or the city, or what? And the one that handle this, do they have a contract that a lifetime contract, or does this contract be renewed? I was just wondering, because I heard some rumors that one person had this contract, and I just want to know how this go about. When we used to go over there, they separated the paper, the plastic, and the aluminum. Now, when the man come around and pick up, it's all combined. He just dump it in there in one way, and I was wondering how this works. Do this person have this contract to do this on a regular basis? Do it have to be bidded out again, or this a lifetime contract that he have? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shepherd, I'm going to ask you to repeat some of that. You saying pick up your recycling from where now? I didn't catch that part.
I used to take the recycling over to the center over here. They separated the aluminum. They had a truck. They put the aluminum on. They had newspaper. They would put the newspaper in one of the things, and then they had the plastic. They separated. So now I just put all of it together. From newspaper, plastic, and aluminum, all in the little thing, and they just come by with a truck and dump it all in there. So first of all, do they still recycle this stuff? You know, like the aluminum be separated or whatnot. I don't know whether this is a city thing because I live in the city or the county. So I was wondering, am I speaking to the right person to get an answer?
Thank you, sir. We're gonna, I'm just gonna tell you, I think that's a city thing. That's not a county thing, but maybe another commissioner will address that in their commissioner comments. But thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to make comments? Anyone else? Thank you. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. My apologies for the prayer earlier. I got a little emotional. I would to our community right now, this is the posture that I've taken is I have to make sure that I respond to whatever happens with an attempt to understand. You know, I can't always be right. I have got to respond with at least an attempt to understand another view other than my own, and that's my struggle right now. That's my challenge to myself right now. The last thing I want to say is we touched on the Solid Waste Management Authority a few minutes ago, and I think it's gone highly unnoticed what you guys have been able to accomplish. I want to commend you. And if we were in a loud courtroom right now where the echo was good, we could all clap, right? But we're not. So I think I've been intentionally hands-off with the Solid Waste Authority or Solid Waste Management Authority because I felt like it was in good hands, especially from our board. And that's just the way I feel about it. And you guys are to be congratulated, not just you, but the entire board. And I think you've put us in a pretty good position. That's exactly why I asked you what I did a while ago. I would suggest that when this comes back for a vote, this approval comes back for a vote, that we have some type of one-page summary, financial summary for the Solid Waste Management Authority to give so the public has notice and distribute to the public, just as a reassurance. But I believe that's all I had, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we did a level of great service and great work on tonight. A lot of things are actually taking place in our country today. A lot of, I can relate to Commissioner Edwards stating that in his prayer, it is an emotional time. And I want to ensure that not only our country, but Newton County is known to be a place for everybody, whether you're Black, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, whether you're Hispanic. We are an amazing community. And I believe that if we would keep our eyes in the direction that we are currently going, and the momentum that we have within our community, I believe we're doing some phenomenal work within Newton County. I think we're doing some great things. We have begun to change the trajectory of where this county is going. And we cannot lose sight to where we were, to where we are, and to where we're going. And so I want Newton County, and as a county commissioner, that is one of my objectives, is to make sure no matter your color, your creed, that we are treated equally within this county, and that we come together as a whole, and that we come together as a community to really build and for people to know who we are. We do a lot of filming in Newton County. A lot of people are moving and migrating to Newton County. And so I believe that is the responsibility of this board to ensure that we not only are economically developing our community, but we're also ensuring that everybody as a whole has fair treatment, and that we're doing the right things, and that we are sending the right message to our citizens to let them know that we love them all, they're all cared about, they're all loved, and that they are welcome in this community. And so, was that my time, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. 4 minutes.
It was, but that's really all I had to say. I just wanted to use all of my time to get that message across.
You definitely did. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think I'll use my 4 minutes, but I'm going to answer Mr. Shepherd first. His question, he is in the city, so the city handles that recycling. And Mr. Shepherd, I think it would be helpful also if you have other questions about how the city does have an agreement with the Solid Waste Authority to dispose of their solid waste products at the landfill. I'd also like to respond to Mr. Still about the monument and direct that question for Ms. Martin to come back at a point in time where we can understand what the current state of the state law is, because we had this discussion 2 years ago, I believe it was, and the state, was it a year ago?
Yes.
And the state law changed and made very clear what we could and could not do. And so I think we need to have a recap of what that state law says. In response to our current national climate, you know, I'm really proud to live in Newton County. We walk together hand in hand with all of our citizens that come from, you know, I have a lot of people in my district that have moved here from other states and other countries and have different cultures, and we have a real connection with each other. And I think that it speaks so highly of our community that we respect each other, and that we as a board have adopted One Newton, and we don't just talk about One Newton, we walk the walk, and our citizens really walk with us in that walk. And I have a lot of I have a lot of confidence as we move forward that we will continue that walk together. We're all learning, you know, we can all learn every day how to be better with each other and respect each other and learn from each other. But I'm just really proud that I live here and can say these things about our community. And I know that tomorrow, everyone wants a peaceful demonstration, and I believe that that's exactly what we'll see, and we'll be a role model for other places.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I've just, just a comment. And my comment is this, is that in what we were talking about impact fees, in 2016, the board, Commissioner Schultz, she was a part of the board then as she is now. But we voted on a forensic audit. And one of the things that then Chairman Chief Ellis had said was that he said $500,000 impact fee money that was unaccounted for. And, you know, and per our conversation, you know, as I used to normally do, come over to the Chairman's office, we talked a little bit about it, and I want to find out more about it. And I had estimated about $1 million. And so it was supposed to be what happened, or show us how did those funds disappear? How did we not have them? And then the conversation, it ran all over. It was all about me. It was all about Tommy Craig. It was all about Anthony Avery and a few others that they were scared to even mention the name in the paper. And that was fine, you know. But the question though was answered about the impact fee money. And so now we hear that the county, the general fund, that they were replacing or had spent money that were impact fee money. And I remember that I had been told that they was going in it was being replenished. It was being re-put back into the general, re-put back into his prospective place in his own funds. And so now I'm hearing that it's just been paid back. And so I'm asking for an accountability. We got to be transparent. I agree with you. And one Newton's got to be transparent to the citizens of Newton County how the funds, any funds, anywhere, are being spent. And so this is what I'm asking for. I'm asking for an open record request is how did the county manage to give money for impact fees that we didn't have, and now it's being paid back. How did that happen? Was there a meeting that we had? Was there some discussion that we had and we all agreed to do that? Or how did it happen? That's something that I would like to know. And lastly, with Mr. Archie Shepherd, what he was talking about, at least what I heard, he was saying that paper was being put in the paper bin, cans were being put in the can bin, and he was asking who were the person who had contracted for the recyclables on the county end at the landfill. He was asking who was that person, and that was the answer that he never got. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Guys, we do have a need for executive session tonight, personnel matters. But let me just say this. Thank you to Mr. Steele, who did call me. I did receive a phone call from him. Wasn't able to reach him back. But guys, I just want to chime in quickly on the things that's going on in our nation, in our state, in the communities that's less than 6 miles from here. One community less than 4 miles from here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. I apologize. Let me apologize. I back up. Mr. Cowell, make your comment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I was starting to feel neglected there for a second.
See, that's why we do it like this. I apologize. Mr. Steele was waiting to hear what I had to say, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm anxious to hear what you got to say. I was going to answer Commissioner Henderson's question on the forensic audit. And this is from my memory. It seemed to me like when we did that, there was a improper accounting of the impact fees. And the question I think he asked is what happened to it. If you remember, we hired a new auditing firm and they made some adjustments and everything. And when the county manager and the finance director, Nicole, they worked on that and replenished those funds and got that straightened out. I think there was also a SPLOST misappropriation, and they noted that, and those have been corrected since that time. So I have to congratulate the county manager and his finance team for doing a good job getting those irregularities in accounting corrected. So I think that's been taken care of. I don't see that as a problem anymore. In regards to Mr. Shepherd, the issues of recycling, we've discussed this at the Solid Waste Authority many times. Right now, there's no market for recycling materials. And that's why everything seems to be getting put into one bin and it's all taken to the landfill. However, I'm curious, and Megan, you may need to answer this question for me, but it seems to me when I worked at the city, there was a requirement with Department of Community Affairs that we show a reduction in waste stream. It was an annual report we had to send in. I don't think that's actually changed. I don't think the state's changed that. So my question is, if we're not doing recycling correctly, then how are we showing a reduction in the waste stream? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to do some work on it, but maybe she knows. But that's something, Mr. Shepherd, we need to look into. As far as the contract goes, I think there was a contract that was put out to bid. I think LB Recycling received that contract based on the better bid of what he presented, and that was done appropriately. But that comes up, I think it's a 2-year or 3-year contract. I'm not sure what that was. And of course, I know we've got a scheduled protest on the square tomorrow. You know, it distresses me as a former police officer to see what's happened in our nation. It's just sad what's the way we've come in some areas. Mr. Steele, I understand your concern about the removal of the Confederate monument. The state has mandated some regulations for local governments regarding those things. But again, it's still an area that I think is going to continue until we take a formal stand to address it at some point, where we are on that. I'm all for if the Board of Commissioners wants to reevaluate what that park should look like, that's fine with me. I have no problem with that. I don't know what the cost would be, but I know it'd probably be pretty expensive. So those are the things we'd have to look at to make sure that we can afford to do what we need to do. But I do agree with Commissioner Schultz. I love living in Newton County. I love our square. I love our history here. It's not perfect, but to me, it's really nice to go into the historic courthouse, and it's just a beautiful building, and it's just a part of our history here in Newton County, which we've got a 200-year anniversary coming up real soon. So that's all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Wow, Mr. Calvin, that was you 3 seconds from doing your 4 minutes. You sure you don't want to do?
You got 3 more seconds. No, sir.
First time that happened.
Yeah.
I am, you know, when you look at our surrounding communities around us, you take Rockdale, Henry. I know they're going to be protesting in Walton also. I've been in contact. I actually was with the chairman of Walton County today at the Capitol. They actually wrote together to the state Capitol, and I was been in conversation with the chairman of Rockdale, Mr. Oz Nesbitt, who they are protesting in Conyers as we speak, and a peaceful protest. And so they will be here tomorrow on the square in Covington, Newton County, protesting. And I don't have any other reason but to believe that it will be a peaceful protest. I will be here, be out there watching. But let me say this: I understand as a Black man, I do understand the concerns and that Mr. Steele has, and I understand the hurt that our nation, that people in our nation are experiencing over these unwanted deaths that keep occurring. You know, I'm releasing a statement tonight. I'm releasing to the paper. You know, what do you do as a community? You know, I was able to talk with our sheriff, Ezell Brown, and our chief of police, Stacy Cotton, about the situation that took place with Mr. George Floyd. And both assured me that neither one of those agencies in our community celebrates that or will ever tolerate that kind of behavior. Not in this community. So I am super proud to hear them say that. But I am also saddened by the fact that my 16-year-old daughter sent me a video of Mr. Ahmad down in Brunswick, Georgia. I hadn't even seen the video back when it happened until she sent it to me and said, "Dad, have you seen this?" It's quite disturbing. Somebody told me those are the times we living in. Well, you know, I don't accept that. And so I'm gonna be asking for a week of prayer, a week of prayer. First of all, I pray tomorrow. I think Mr. Steele will be out tomorrow with the protesters. And you know, I pray that their voices are heard loud, and I pray that the statement that they're trying to make is heard. And I pray that God will definitely, the Lord will have mercy on our country, man, because I tell you what, we living in the times that we're living in, they are different. But I know somebody who is a time changer. And so, guys, I'm gonna end there, and like I said, I'm gonna release a statement to the paper, and I will be there tomorrow out there looking to meet Mr. Steele personally. But I do seek a motion that we go into executive session tonight for personnel matters.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We will not be, let me let the community know that we will not be taking a vote, guys. We will not be taking a vote tonight. There's been a motion by Commissioner Edwards.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schultz. All in favor?
Aye from District 1.
Aye from District 2.
Aye 3.
Aye from District 4.
Aye for District 5.
Thank you. 5-0. Guys, we're going to move into executive session.